Hello everyone, welcome to Tripp Advisor Film Friday edition. Happy Friday everyone. It's a snowy Friday here. Good weekend to hunker down and watch some films. Today will be my first film review. And before I get into the films from this year, I want to look back at what I think is the best film from 2019. A film that made history, Parasite. It's extra personal to me because from 2003 to 2005, I spent 2 years living and teaching English as a second language in South Korea. It was an important and transformational time in my life in many ways, but as it relates to film, it was really an eye-opening 2 years. It really got me a little more invested. It sort of broadened the scope and expanded my palette of cinema, and it really grew in my appreciation of foreign films, in particular Korean films, having lived there for 2 years. There were 3 films in particular that, as I look back, they really stuck out, and they really sort of launched me into a greater appreciation of Korean films, but also foreign language films in general. Those films were Old Boy, Taeguki, English translation, Brotherhood of War, and this film called Memories of Murder by an up-and-coming director by the name of Bong Joon-ho. I remember watching that film, being captivated by it, and sort of taking a mental note of this director, Bong Joon-ho, and remember thinking, I got to pay attention to what he makes in the future. Here we are more than 15 years later, and I never would have thought at that time in my life while living in Korea that here I would be over 15 years later, sort of raving about this groundbreaking, history-making film called Parasite, which, as many of you know, made history by becoming the first foreign language film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, as well as a host of others. So today I want to talk about sort of the ingredients that make Parasite a modern masterpiece. Spoiler alert, there will be some spoilers ahead in this video, so I highly recommend that if you have not yet seen Parasite, turn off this video. You have my permission to pause, stop this video. I'll wait. Go watch this masterpiece. You'll enjoy it much more if you go in spoiler-free, if you haven't already been spoiled already. And then come back and watch the rest of this video. So let's explore the anatomy of Parasite, a modern cinematic masterpiece. Parasite, like Bong Joon-ho's previous films Mother, Okja, and Snowpiercer, is a social commentary exploring issues around social justice, class inequalities, and capitalistic greed, portrayed through the juxtaposition of 2 families of 4 with very different socioeconomic standing in South Korea. We are first introduced to the Kim family, who live in a small semi-basement struggling to make ends meet. We see them folding pizza boxes as a modest source of income, while taking advantage of the fumigation in the neighborhood to help reduce the insect population in their abode. The Kims are not portrayed as lazy nor unintelligent, but for whatever reasons have found themselves in impoverished living conditions. On the other hand, the Park family, an upper-class family of 4, live in lavish luxury in a gated-off luxury home, literally elevated above their less fortunate neighbors. As the story progresses, the Kim family devises a number of schemes to infiltrate the lives and the home of the Park family until things take a dramatic turn, hurtling the story towards its intense conclusion. What makes Parasite a modern masterpiece is not simply the fantastic script and the wonderful performances. Parasite actually became the first ever foreign language film to win the Best Ensemble Award at the Screen Actors Guild in 2019. But also, what makes Parasite a masterpiece is the way in which the cinematography, the editing, the production design, all exquisitely weave together to enhance and elevate the film through various visual storytelling techniques and tools. From the outset of the film, through the use of blocking, we are immediately drawn into the experiences of the 2 families. When we are watching the Kim family, the camera shots are tighter, giving us viewers a sense of claustrophobia. Well, when we are in the Park's house, the shots are wider, giving a sense of freedom and liberation from their literal elevated luxury home. Speaking of elevation, something director Bong and his production team do masterfully is juxtaposing the 2 families in the film through the use of elevation. From the opening scene of the film, we find ourselves in the dark, claustrophobic semi-basement of the Kim family. Director Bong subtly introduces the lowly position of the Kim family and their desire to ascend to something greater in the opening sequence, where the Kim children, Ki-woo and Ki-jung, try to find a free Wi-Fi signal in which they literally have to climb up to the highest corner of their semi-basement. This subtle opening scene is the first of many used by Bong to reinforce the class separation of rich and poor through the use of visuals. When we first see Ki-woo walking from his neighborhood to the Park family's home, we see him walking up from his dark and dingy neighborhood to the elevated abode of the Parks, upon which the sun is shining on their spacious and manicured yard. In the Park house, one walks upstairs to spacious bedrooms, while in the Kim's apartment, they literally walk up to a tiny, dirty toilet. In another intense portion of the film, which literally left me holding my breath when I first saw it, the Kim family is forced to hide under a table in the Park's house when they unexpectedly return. Once again, we see them scurrying like cockroaches below the Parks. And in a later sequence, which is my personal favorite of the film, when the plans of the Kims begin to unravel, we have this masterfully shot scene of their long descent from the Park home down to their apartment at night during a rainstorm. And powerful montages are used also to contrast the very different consequences of a rainstorm for these families. A mild inconvenience for the lives of the rich, while being devastating for those dwelling literally at the bottom. Director Bong Joon-ho has stated his intentionality with using elevation as a visual storytelling tool, specifically his use of stairs throughout the film, which echo some iconic scenes from films from the past, from Rhett carrying Scarlett up the lavish stairs in Gone with the Wind, to Sylvester Stallone running up the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum with a crowd of children following him, to the chilling scene ascending the stairs of the Bates family home in Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece Psycho, which Bong has said was an inspiration for Parasite. But the greatest influence on Parasite, as director Bong Joon-ho has stated, is from the 1960 Korean film The Housemaid, a film with similar themes of class divide within a single house, and also portraying the passions that drive us. That film similarly uses elevation and stairs within a single home. Not only does Bong use elevation and stairs to juxtapose the Kim and Park families and their socio-economic inequality, but he and his team also use light and darkness masterfully. Early on in the film, we see the Kim family peering out their window into the dimly lit street, witnessing a drunken man urinating outside their window. Then, from down the street, we see the light of a motorcycle approaching. The motorcycle belonging to Min-yuk, a friend of Ki-woo. Min-yuk, a university student from a higher socioeconomic family, gifts the family a special gift, a scholar's stone, which is meant to symbolize wealth and success. The approaching motorcycle lights of Min-yuk subtly illustrate that he is a sort of beacon of light to the Kim family, a bridge between the two worlds of wealth and poverty. Min-yuk's gift and conversation with Ki-woo set in motion a series of well-laid plans the Kim family embark on to infiltrate the lives and home of the Park family in their desire to rise up out of their impoverished situation. The imagery of light and darkness is repeated throughout the film. The first time we witness Ki-woo walking to the Park home, he walks up some stairs with the sun brightly shining down on him. This particular scene was very intentional, and with 60% of the film taking place within the Park house, it was meticulously designed and built with every detail in mind, including the angle of the sun to capture this moment. Later on, we see a shot of Ki-woo laying on the manicured and spacious lawn of the Parks just beyond the edge of the dark shadows, basking in the sunlight, seemingly symbolizing the apparent transition of their family from the shackles and darkness of poverty to the warmth and freedom of wealth and success. And when Mr. Park returns home from work, the lights in the entranceway at the house come on as he walks by, illuminating him, giving him a sort of halo over his head. These are just a few of the many examples of how director Bong and his team effectively use both elevation and light and darkness as visual storytelling tools to juxtapose the two families of the narrative. The strategic inclusion of similar-sized windows in both the Kim's semi-basement and the Park's luxury home is another example of the effective use of camera work and symmetry in Parasite. Director Bong Joon-ho has stated that the windows were specifically designed to mirror the 2.39 to 1 widescreen aspect ratio of the film, to give viewers a sense that just as the families, the Kims and the Parks, are looking out their respective windows into their different worlds, so too are we, the viewers, viewing through the same aspect ratio, a view of the world of economic disparity and class divide. Perhaps no scene emphasizes the overarching theme of this class divide than a scene during which Mr. Park laments to Mr. Kim, his chauffeur, about the importance of those on the other side of the socioeconomic line staying on their own side of the line.
상당히 괜찮은 아줌마였거든 그 양반이. 집안 구석구석 관리도 잘하고 그리고 매사에 손을 딱 잘 지켜. 내가 원래 손을 넘는 사람을 제일 싫어하는데.
This conversation is subtly echoed throughout the film, as many of the conversations on screen involve members of the elite and lower class conversing with a physical line dividing them on screen. This blocking technique is yet another way director Bong and his production team reinforce the undergirding themes of the film. Well, I could say a lot more about Parasite, but those are just a few of the many reasons why I and many others consider Parasite to be a modern cinematic masterpiece. I saw this film 3 times in the theater. I enjoyed it so much. I've seen it, I think, 3 more times at my house. I even picked up this graphic novel in storyboards. Director Bong Joon-ho is famous for how meticulous he is, and in this, he maps out the entire screenplay, every camera angle, all the minute details that all sort of weave and fit together to form this powerful story. It really is a great service that Bong Joon-ho has done for us who enjoy great films, and it is a literal masterpiece. No surprise, my final grade for Parasite, I give it an enthusiastic thumbs up and an A+. I hope the fact that it's a foreign language film won't be a deterrent for you, and I hope, like my experiences were in those 2 years living in South Korea, that my eyes were opened to just the wealth of wonderful foreign language films that are out there. In speaking about that, Bong Joon-ho has famously said this. He says, once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced to so many more amazing films. And I hope that is your experience as it has been mine. I hope if you haven't seen Parasite, you will watch it. You will enjoy it. If you had seen it, just weigh in the comments. What did you think about this film? What are some of the other foreign language films that you've enjoyed and appreciated? As always, you can subscribe to the channel. You can like and share this video with those you think might enjoy it. And tell me what you're watching this weekend and what are your thoughts about this masterpiece, Parasite. Thanks as always for joining me. I'll be back again next Friday for another Film Friday review. Surprisingly, although Parasite I consider to be the best movie of 2019, there is one other movie that I personally enjoyed just a little bit more than Parasite. And so join me next Friday as we explore my favorite movie of 2019. And then the weeks following that, we'll revisit some of my favorite films from this past year. Take care, have a great weekend, and enjoy whatever you're watching at your place.